So the official 2016 Republican presidential field is now up to 6. Half of those announcements from just this past week. Joining me now around the table, Kevin Madden. He's a Republican strategist, worked for Mitt Romney's campaign. CNN political reporter Sarah Murray, and Steve McMahon. He's worked on dozens of campaigns throughout his career, including 3 Democratic presidential campaigns. So you saw them there just this week: Fiorina, Carson, and Huckabee. Any of them serious candidates?
I think all of them are serious candidates. I mean, particularly when you look at the polls, you also look at where the party is. You have a great deal of frustration by some grassroots conservatives against the establishment, and many of these candidates provide a voice to a lot of those conservatives. This is I think one of the great things is for voters out there who want options, particularly on the Republican side, they have a lot of them. This is a very strong field.
Steve, who do the Democrats worry about most in that group just this week?
Nobody that we just saw. I mean, I think the candidates that the Democrats worry about most were not in that clip. Marco Rubio is one. Jeb Bush is the other. I think to some degree if Scott Walker could get some lift, you know, he presents an interesting challenge, although I don't think most people think he has a lot of staying power. And I was struck by Kevin's response, because I think it depends on how you define serious, right? They're serious among a certain core group of constituencies within the Republican Party. But I think for most voters in the middle and for the people who are going to decide this, none of those candidates are serious.
Sarah, a number of the GOP presidential hopefuls that were at the South Carolina Freedom Summit this week, missing Rand Paul and Chris Christie. Christie, why was that? What does that tell us?
Well, first of all, I think there are a lot of these cattle calls. You need to pick and choose which ones you're going to go to. I think Rand Paul and Chris Christie weren't as concerned about being there and kind of making this evangelical pitch. We're seeing a lot of that going on. I mean, Jeb Bush was at Liberty University as well yesterday, sort of making his pitch to evangelicals. So I think you'll see them all around the table. I think Rand Paul has done a little bit of this. But, you know, for the candidates who did speak, I think this was a good opportunity to get in front of an important early state and make your pitch to evangelical voters. And I think that's what we saw.
Jeb raised some eyebrows this week, and this is Sarah's reporting, when he mentioned that George W. Bush is one of his Middle East advisors. That raised some eyebrows. Damaging?
No, of course not. Why would that raise eyebrows? I think it would raise eyebrows. Hold on a second. Hold on. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Right, but it would raise eyebrows if he wasn't taking counsel from somebody who was a Republican who was previously in office. That would be, I think, a more problematic answer if he were to deny that.
But particularly on the Middle East, and even W himself has acknowledged.
I will cede you that there is a challenge in that. One of the big challenges that Jeb Bush has had, and he said this previously, right? He said, "I'm my own man," and he wants to make the case that this is about his vision, it's about his agenda for the country, and it becomes problematic. That's where it would become a challenge for him. Is that when you're trying to talk about what your plans are for the future, when you're going to be forced by Democrats and other critics to litigate the past, it becomes a challenge.
And I have to say, though, people in the room were surprised to hear these words come out of Jeb Bush's mouth, because he has been so careful in public to try to distance himself from his brother. But I also think the way Jeb Bush's staff reacted to this gives you an indication of the fact that they think that it is damaging. They were saying, look, he was just talking about Israel. He wasn't talking about the Middle East. He wasn't talking about foreign policy more broadly. That's not what our
little bit.
That's not what our sources in the room say. And two, right, it's not like he's going to call up his brother and say, look, I called to talk to you about Israel, but do not mention Iran. Do not mention Iraq. We could not possibly talk about the rest.
You know, George W. Bush wouldn't speak to his own father about foreign policy, which would have actually made a lot of Americans feel better about the decisions he was making. And now we've got his brother saying that he listens to him. I think the deal that the Clintons offered the public in 1992, the 2-for-1 deal, right now looks a little bit better than the 2-for-1 deal that the Bushes are offering.
Hillary Clinton's going to ask whether or not she would listen to or take counsel from Barack Obama, who has very low foreign policy ratings right now as well. And it'll be interesting to see whether or not she runs from
Have you seen Bill
President
Clinton's
Obama.
numbers? We're talking about people in the same family now.
The only numbers I've seen from Bill Clinton are all the money that he's getting from big speeches for the foundation.
You should look at his favorability.
But I do think Hillary Clinton is going to have to answer to Barack Obama's policies, because she was the Secretary of State at that time. So I think this is problematic on both sides of the aisle. But I think right now, if you look at the American public, they still look at the war in Iraq, and they still have very divisive views about that. They see it as very unpopular, and that's something that Jeb Bush is going to have to carry forward, especially if he's telling people.
Does that penetrate the debate this year? And particularly, does the terror threat bring it home? Because as often as we talk about it, for many Americans, it's at arm's length. It's over there. A lot of names in Iraq and Syria that they can't quite get their heads around. Is that a major issue in this campaign?
I think it is a major issue, and I think when you look at the the candidates on the right, and I won't call it a clown show, but when you look at the folks that we just looked at, and some of the others who are running, they will make people feel a lot better about Hillary Clinton and her experience, and a lot better about having Bill Clinton around and nearby. His numbers are extraordinary. I mean, he's the most popular former president who's living today, and there's a reason for that. It's because people respect him and they like the decisions he made when he was president. I think they are comforted by the fact that he'll be a phone call away at any moment if Hillary Clinton's in the White House.